I just saw this article from Tom Pelissaro. He wrote it on February 4th. I think they had like a meeting or something, a league meeting, and they said the
Yeah.
league hasn't produced a number for clubs yet, what the cap is going to be, but it's kind of expected to be close to 185 million, which would be a pretty significant drop from this last season. And they do have a floor of 175 million. So, Connor, with those numbers in mind, what is kind of your reaction to that?
I think that's been expected for a while now. There was some reports that said the NFL would try to keep it at what it was this last year, which was 198.2 million. But as the season went along, we were hearing rumblings that they didn't want to do that just because they lost so much money to ticket sales and merchandise at the stadiums. So they were going to drop it a bit this year, and try not to hit the 175 million because that mark is going to be incredibly hard for a lot of
Yeah.
teams to hit. Even in my mock off season, over the cap and spot track actually have different numbers for the base
Hmm.
salary cap they're going off of. Over the cap uses 180 million, spot track uses 185. We don't really know which one it's going to land at. I actually used the 180 million for mine.
Okay.
So the more robust or the lower number. So I think anywhere in there. I know Brett Veach said if it's 185 million or above, they felt good about the offseason. But if it was below that, they still had plans, but they would have liked it to be 185 or above. I can see why when I did the mock off season, but I actually don't think it's too terrible at 180 either. And the first part of my mock off season will be out this week, and it talks about cuts and restructures. And to get under, because the Chiefs right now, if it's 180 million, they're 22 million over the cap,
Mm.
which is a startling number when you look at it. But for the Chiefs, compared to somebody like the Eagles or Saints, they're not in a terrible position to deal with it. But there is one key thing they will have to do, and if they don't do it, I will be. I'll wonder how they will even function this offseason. That's cut Eric Fisher.
Mm.
Saving 12 million on his contract last year of his deal, over 30, Achilles injury. I think going into the offseason, it just has to happen. They might re-sign him like to a 1 year extension, lower his cap charge, and try to keep him through this year. But it's incredibly hard to keep him at his current contract, and I don't see that happening.
Yeah, which is tough because he did have a really good season last year, and he probably
Mhm.
would have stuck around if he didn't suffer an Achilles injury. I think that's the kind of the hard pill to swallow right there. You know that meme that's the hard to swallow pills meme.
Yeah.
This is a verbal meme is what we were doing right now. You have to
Ooh,
picture it in your head.
verbal memes. Aren't those
Uh,
called jokes, Tucker?
I guess so. I didn't think about that. I didn't put those two together, but yeah, that's a joke, I guess you could say. But I like Eric Fisher. I've always liked Eric Fisher, and you know me. I'm big on the offensive line, especially in the draft, and they'll probably address the certain needs this way. But you mentioned that your story this week is going to be about cuts and restructures, and you already talked about Eric Fisher, but who else is kind of somebody that could be cut that is kind of a cap casualty?
He's returning from the COVID list, but Damian Williams, I don't think. Now, this is interesting. In my mock off season, I actually re-signed Daryl Williams.
Hmm.
Little spoiler alert for next week, but Damian Williams costs 2.5 million against the cap. Chiefs would save 1.5 million cutting him, in cap savings. So it's hard to really, with CEH, with other running backs on the roster, it's kind of a nice little thinning out contract to cut.
Right.
Um, but spoilers, Tucker, those are the only two I actually cut.
Hmm.
Those are the only two cuts I have for the Chiefs. And that's mainly because, and I think Brett Veach knows this as well, restructures are going to be the main way to make the money. But people think restructure, they automatically think, oh, we're screwed in the future. A little into the future, also peering here, like Daryl. At the end of my mock off season, the Chiefs had 23 million in cap next year, with the cap being 227 million, which some are saying it'll skyrocket after this year. So we'll see. But 23
Yeah.
million still gives them like plenty of room if it's like 205 million. They'll actually have
Mhm.
cap room. So those restructures I'm going to do. will not actually be too bad for the future. The next 2 years, it would be 7 extra million per year, and then 3 years after that, it'll be an extra 4 million per year. That's
Yeah,
among three players that I think we expect to be around for a while because it's Chris Jones, Travis Kelsey, and Patrick Mahomes.
right. And Connor, correct me if I'm wrong, but can you transition some cap money this year on a restructure into signing bonus, correct? And
Mhm.
will that take off some cap hit for the next years?
It won't because
Okay.
you're automatically prorating more money into the future,
Mm,
and it'll spread out among those years. It would have to be a contract rewrite for that.
okay.
Strictly turning any money this year into a bonus automatically just adds it onto whatever's in the future. You would have to
Gotcha.
rewrite their contracts for something like that. You could extend years out, um, and you could maybe do that, but it would be moving more money around than what a typical restructure is.